This podcast is part of the Pull Up a Chair podcast network. Let's build community through connection, conversation, and collaboration.
Welcome to
How's That Working For You?
where
We spill the tea about relationships, millennial adulting, or whatever else life decides to chuck at us.
Hey Kat, what's up?
My relationship, actually, for once in my life, which is sad. It's funny because I think that my relationship has been a really big factor in how we became friends and our friendship in general. Like, I wouldn't be with the person that I'm with today had it not been you saving me from my past relationship and teaching me what a good man is supposed to behave like.
Well, I feel like a big part of our relationship, we've brought it up before in a past episode, I can't remember which one, that I am drawn to or I attract people in turmoil. And I feel like a big reason why I was all like, oh, Kat, yes, I'm going to be good friends with her is because I saw you were in a toxic relationship.
I was
relationships last week. Yeah, I was all like, ooh, that right there.
It's like you scope out friends and you think and you see like, oh, that one is the hot, steamiest mess of garbage. I want that one.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's actually funny is that the reason why this podcast is called How's That Working For You was it was supposed to be us catching up on our lives, and a little bit was about me and my just whole life.
It was supposed to be me giving you advice and seeing if you would take that advice for the next week. Because for a good chunk of our relationship, we would talk. I would give you advice. You would tell me you were going to try to follow that advice. And then you would not follow that advice.
Well, see what happened when I followed your advice? My life is now significantly more boring.
I know, you did, and now our podcast is ruined.
Yeah. That's hilarious. What a realization. I listened to your advice, and now I'm in a healthy relationship, and my life is significantly more boring. There's no more drama. There's no more guessing. There's no more
tea.
Yeah, no more tea. And it's interesting because you're one of the few people I can talk to about my relationship comfortably, because you're in I would say an equally I only say that like the reason why I say like in an equally is because you've been in a longer relationship than me, so I think that yours is better in terms of that, but I think we're in equally healthy relationships now. Like,
girl, I'm married. Are you kidding?
No. Well, but like it doesn't speak to the healthiness. And what I'm trying to say is that your relationship, you've had more experience, you've been in a healthy relationship for much, and like I could not be under exaggerating this enough. Like you've been in a healthy relationship for like eons longer than I have. But finally I'm in a relationship that I can finally talk to you about, and you're one of the few people I can comfortably talk to you about, because I think that I have a few, like, I have friends who aren't in healthy relationships, or they're still dating, and they poke a lot of fun at trash men. I used to do that a lot too. Do you know what I'm saying?
Men are so much fun to talk about, but when you're in a healthy relationship and your friend isn't, when you talk about, oh, my husband and I just sat around and watched TV together and ate popcorn and it was a wonderful time, and your friend next to you is all like, we got into a huge fight and then he did a grand romantic gesture.
Yeah.
The conversation can occasionally get awkward.
Well, yeah, it's like, I mean, my last fight with my boyfriend was over him playing Fortnite. So I mean, and it since we both are good communicators, I let him play Fortnite, and then we talked about it afterwards. And that was that. There's no passive aggressiveness, there's no pettiness. It's like it's just healthy. This is, by the way, we're still very great, like we're still advocates of healthy relationships, even though we're smashing on the fact that they're that it makes our lives a little boring.
I love my boring life because it gives me the freedom to seek out the unhealthy people that I love to listen to and play therapist for. Because originally, when I was going to school, I wanted to be a therapist, and I went through my whole first semester taking mostly psych classes. I went into a clinical where I was sitting in with a therapist while they were talking about the job and how they would, go about working with a patient. And that's when I was like, wait. I can't do this.
Yeah.
And not because I have a lack of empathy or a lack of wanting to help other people.
It's the exact opposite.
I get too attached and I wouldn't be able to compartmentalize like a good therapist should. And I would get way too involved and it would just be a recipe for disaster. And so I play a therapist on TV now.
I mean, for a while you had me.
Yeah, I had you, and then throughout the rest of my college career, when I had friends like, okay, I can't be a therapist, what else is there for me to do? I would still take psych classes as often as I could. I would still sit down with people that I barely knew and talk them through whatever current issue that they had. I mean, I feel like that added a lot of fuel to why I am in a healthy relationship. It's because my emphasis was supposed to be on family care and family therapy. I was going to talk to families and then, bring the individuals out one at a time. And so I got a lot of really good communicational tools in that regard, and why I was so easily able to pick up on red flags and your girl runs for the hills. No, thank you. We can be friends if you want, sort of. But
yeah, opposite for me.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We may talk more about toxic relationships in the future, but today's all about healthy ones. So
yeah, and it's good. It's good to be in a healthy relationship, even if it is more boring.
I mean, it's just like there's nothing better than being able to talk about your feelings with somebody, and then they're literally your best friend. I can't. Well, I know that this person's right for me because he does a lot of the things you would do for me because you're my best friend. Like that's a good indicator. As corny as that sounds, right? It's a good indicator to say that if somebody, granted, your best friend is a good friend. Let's make that clear. You know that someone's good for you if they have the same motives and they see you almost like they see your value like a best friend does. He cares about my schoolwork, he cares about my goals, and it's not even because he's trying to build a future with me, but he just wants me to succeed. Because in the past, I think that in my past relationship, he may have wanted me to do well in school and graduate sooner, but mostly because he wanted me to help pay for his rent. But I digress. That's one of the indicators of a good relationship is if you can say that your best friend and your significant other have similar goals and similar views and similar the relationship is somewhat similar, so as long as your friendship is healthy, that would also, you know what I'm saying.
I would argue that the best indicator of a healthy relationship is how you fight. Because in any relationship, good, bad, somewhere in the middle, which is where most relationships are, and somewhere in the middle, there's going to be conflict. Because two people can't always
agree,
work smoothly together, especially if they live together. I feel like good relationships typically shine more in that department. Because even if you yell at each other and potentially even say something kind of mean or hurtful, It's how you resolve that conflict that really shines. Because in a good
It's
relationship,
communication.
yeah, in a good relationship, you'll communicate either during the fight or after the fight, and then resolve the problem so you don't have to fight about it again in the future.
Which I touched up on with the whole Fortnite thing.
Yeah, like you guys communicated afterwards in this case instead of during it. And you guys probably won't ever fight about that again, or if you do, you'll have a point of reference on how to resolve the conflict easier. With my husband and I, we don't yell at each other.
I've never seen, I don't believe that that your husband can emote enough to yell. Like, I'm sorry, but like, you on the other hand, maybe.
Oh yeah, I could get loud.
But I just don't think that I just can't imagine your husband.
With us, when we come into conflict, what usually happens is one of us says, hey, I don't want to talk about blank right now, or I don't want to deal with blank right now. Can we have a conversation later? And then later, when we're both calm and in the same headspace, we'll express what's wrong. And usually stuff doesn't get up to that point. Typically, somebody will bring something up. One of us will bring something up right then and there, like, hey, I don't like blank.
Yeah.
And then we just resolve it. But that took a long time to develop. It's not like our relationship started that way. Our relationship started with us having, your typical arguments. And through practice of communication, through us listening to each other, our relationship got healthier and healthier. And we're still trying to find ways of supporting each other on a more equal level every day. And I feel like because of that, it shows how healthy our relationship is.
Yeah, I mean, your relationship was an inspiration to me. I don't know if it was like a goal to work towards. I wanted to find myself a person that would equate to what you had. Not because obviously I'm a different person and I have different preferences, and I wanted something where I wanted someone who was as compassionate and caring in their own way, and they would be able to talk to me. And I think the uniqueness of my relationship with my current boyfriend, we listen to each other, and that's something that's very it sounds kind of obvious and it sounds like just intuitive, but I think that listening is an aspect of communication that some people overlook. A lot of people want to say what they want to be heard, but in the process of trying to be heard, they forget to listen to the other person in the conversation or the conflict. So
absolutely.
It's just, and for a long time I was in a situation where I would constantly be trying to say something, trying to talk, and like trying to get my point across. And I think literally that person I was with would say like, you're talking too much, or I heard you. But the substance between the words I heard you just wasn't there behind the words I heard you. And now in my current relationship, we sit down and we hear each other, and if we aren't in the headspace to hear each other, we wait until we are. And I think that's one of the most valuable things about what I have now. And we came into this relationship with the mindset like that without even having to talk about it. Like, it was just kind of a natural thing that we both had learned how to do. Like, in the past, maybe I wasn't able to listen, but over time and having matured and all those things, I finally realized that was something I had to learn myself. And I guess he was raised in that mindset where he's just very respectful, and he's respectful of my thoughts and what I have to say. Whereas, like, I think with your relationship, it started off like in kind of a different place than having picked it up like at this place where I think I had already gone through all the toxicity with my ex, and then I was finally ready to be in a relationship with somebody who was at the same point as me, emotionally speaking, like emotional intelligence. I think that I've been through so much traumatically, emotionally. I no longer had that space to take on a person and try to convince them that they have to meet me halfway.
Okay,
And,
I see what you're saying.
yeah. I hope it makes sense. I think I'm like talking in circles.
No, you're making sense. And I feel like anybody could have a healthy relationship as long as they practice good listening and good talking.
What I was trying to say is that like it's like the contrast between your like the way that your relationship unfolded and the way that my relationship unfolded. It's because of course we do have this background in communication, but we have to figure out how to meld that with our own relationship, much like how you did with yours over time too. So the only reason why I brought that up is because I think that since we both were conditioned to learn how to communicate properly, we are able to it was a little bit easier for us to figure it out together than say since I was with that person, Bob, I think that's what we're calling him. He didn't have any experience in communication at all, and he didn't just. I think that we had different viewpoints and just different ways of looking at life and psychology and everything. It didn't work out. But since now that I'm with somebody who has a similar mindset as I do and knows that type of thing, like knows how that works, and you know what, I think it's more of an interest thing. I don't think it's like because we're communication scholars that we're good at communicating, but it's the fact that we're both interested in the same thing, and that's probably why we meld together well. That's part of it too. I'm not saying that like that's what somebody needs to be in a healthy relationship at all by any means. When both people prioritize communication, that's where like that then you're cooking, you know? You just have to prioritize being able to listen, being able to talk, you have to prioritize communication. If you don't prioritize it, you get passive aggressiveness. You oftentimes you literally just don't know what's wrong, and then you just ignore it. And that's where a lot of toxicity comes from, right? I don't know. I think I just found the right, I just found the person that works well. A lot of it is communication, but I also think that even like I've told you this off recording before, is that with Bob, even if he was healthy and he was a good person and blah 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 blah, we still wouldn't be right for each other because we didn't have enough similarities. We just like our personalities just did not match. And with the person that I'm with now, it's so natural. It's just, we're into the same things. We talk all day and night. We don't get tired of each other.
I think any relationship can get healthy if there's the right amount of effort put in on both sides. Because communication only works when both people are participating, and that takes active listening, and that takes open and full honesty. And that's something I have personally struggled with. I don't like talking about my deeper feelings. And it takes work. No relationship can go from loud, angry, toxic fighting to healthy communication overnight. And sometimes in the process of learning how to communicate fully, you'll either learn that this relationship is right for you, or you'll learn that it's not right for you. And everybody's mode of communication is different. For my husband and I, typically it's right then in the moment, or give it half an hour and then just talk frankly. But I know for a good friend of mine, not Kat, who is here, but another friend, for her, they work best if they go into different rooms and they'll text a fight, or they'll text the conflict back and forth.
That's interesting.
And it's a way for them, for her at least, it gives her a moment to think about what she's going to say before she says it, and fully read everything that her partner is saying to her without... And it works, and it's very different from how I do it.
That's fascinating, because my boyfriend and I were actually talking about the what's beneficial from texting and what's beneficial like over in person. And especially in emotional situations, I think that a lot of details can be left out because people have a tendency to block out the other person when they're mad, or they have a tendency, or if they might be too into their thoughts or something like that. So of course it's not like that for everyone, but I can see, having said that I can see why their method works.
Yeah, and I mean, the method for every relationship is going to be a little different. And so, listeners, if you're trying to improve on your method of communication with your partner, feel free to experiment. Try out emailing your conflict, or try texting, or maybe even writing letters. I mean, once you find out what works for you, it'll work forever. You just have to find it.
I also think that like another piece of advice would also be that if it feels wrong, listen to it. Don't try to keep making it work if it feels wrong. It's like you had said earlier, is that like sometimes you find out that you're not right for each other with the whole journey of learning how to communicate. And even if you try to communicate and it doesn't work out, listen to yourself and don't try to make it work. I hope that you guys receive this well, and I hope that you listen to us next week with whatever we decide to talk about.
Great. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Drink Something, Say Something is the podcast for those of you who are tired of other beer podcasts, tired of the jargon, tired of all the rigmarole. We're going to bring on brewers, bartenders, and everything in between to talk about anything and everything from beer to the rest of the universe. Come crack one open with us every other Thursday.